Chairman, welcome.
Thank you very much, Alex.
And Deborah, welcome also.
Thank you so much, Senior.
Great. And Ima, how are you doing? Ima, how are you doing?
Ima, how are you doing? Please, Council.
Very good.
Very good.
Well, I see a few names there. Isiedu, Sapong, Monica, Augustine. For those who are in here, you are welcome. And good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon.
And let me, on behalf of the Institute, congratulate you for coming this far. I know it has not been easy, but God has been good and He's brought you this far. And we are fortunate to have with us a chairman who is a reverend minister. I'm sure he's been praying very much for you guys so that you do very well for the GISI. This afternoon, as we've been doing, we usually have an orientation before your programs begin. But we've reached a critical stage in the training. Having cleared the first three, which is the foundation, intermediate, and legal, you now have to make a clear choice of where you want to go in terms of your career. And therefore, we want to run a series of programs with persons who are already in the market, experienced persons, who give you an idea of what to expect and the requirements for the various careers that you want to pursue before you register and select your course. So that once you select your course, that's what you're going to be doing. You can only do another one next time, but you can't do two courses at the same time. So it's important that you know exactly where you are going and how to get there. And that is why we are starting this series. And today, we want you to start with the regulator. I guess by now you know that the regulator is the Securities and Exchange Commission. And fortunately for us, we have with us the Director General himself, Reverend Ogbarmey Tetteh. He's also the chairman of GISI. And therefore, he'll share with you and actually welcome you and congratulate you for coming this far and share some thoughts with you on how to continue. His expectations of you as professionals. This is a professional program, and therefore we expect a certain standard from you. Thereafter, we'll have the Deputy Director General Legal. She'll do her own introduction, Deborah, to take you through the requirements for licensing when you finish your program. So today we are with the commission, and I know that they'll give you a very good insight into what to expect. So on that note, I want to welcome our chairman, Reverend Ogbarmey Tetteh, to welcome you and also share with you his expectations as a professional in the capital market. So Rev, I hand over to you, and I know that as you did for us the first time, you are going to let them fully appreciate what it means to be a professional in the capital market. Thank you very much. So Rev, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alex, and thank you for your leadership in really getting people prepared for the capital market or for the securities industry. So, ladies and gentlemen, like Alex has said, my job is to welcome you. So you're welcome. And then he also said, my job is to congratulate you. So congratulations for making it thus far in this securities training course or courses. And my understanding is that you have come to the level where you are going to choose a particular career path. And I want to wish you well as you select the path that you would want to pursue. And as he has said, the various sessions you'll be having with other established professionals in the industry might give you some perspectives in terms of what area that you can focus on. But let me just remind you that the securities industry is a regulated sector. Now, once we talk about a regulated sector or regulations, it means that, or it implies that there are or there would be some expectations. The regulator would have some expectations of all the operators in the industry. And I'm not going to attempt to tell you all the expectations, but in mentioning the fact that it's regulated business, I want to highlight the fact that you must think of a word, and that word is compliance. You must think of a word compliance. It will be something that throughout your career, you will have to be reminding yourself. You have to be checking yourself. You have to be marking yourself to ensure that the various standards and rules that are in the industry, you are comparing favorably with them. Because like I said, once you talk about regulated activity or regulated business, there'll be some standards, there'll be some rules, there'll be some expectations. So that's the first thing I would like you to remember, compliance. And indeed, the regulator is always looking at how compliant our market operators are. The other thing I like to mention in terms of what we would expect of all the professionals in the securities industry is, again, something that you would be familiar with because it is not rocket science. It's about ethical behavior. Ethical behavior. And ethical behavior is, I believe, important in every sector or every enterprise, but especially more so in the securities industry, because you'll be dealing largely with other people's money. You'll be dealing largely with destinies of people, and so on and so forth. So ethical behavior becomes very, very important. Let me try and define ethical behavior for you. When we talk about ethical behavior, I would say it's about doing the right thing and doing it right. So doing the right thing and then doing it right. So it's not only doing the right thing. When we talk about ethical behavior, it's not only about doing the right thing, but there's another dimension, which is to do it right. And that's why competence, and that's why continuing to sharpen your skills is important, because you must not only do the right thing, but you must do it right. So that would be what I would want to say about ethical behavior. So I've talked about compliance and I've talked about ethical behavior. Let me talk about one more thing and then I'll rest my case. We have in recent times come up with what will be termed as guidelines that would govern or would augment the framework that we already have for regulating the market or regulating operators in the market. Now, one key thing that stands out, especially in a couple of the recent guidelines that we issued. There's a conduct of business guidelines and then the licensing requirements, is the concept of a fit and proper person. What that means is that for you to get a license from the commission, both a license as a market operator or as a representative of the market operator, as a regulator, will be interested in how fit and how proper you are to operate in the industry, in the market. And let me also throw a few words that might help you to unpack the concept of fit and proper. Words like honesty, words like trustworthy, professional qualifications, background, experience, financial position. These are some concepts or some words that can help you to understand when we talk about someone who is fit and someone who is proper. And you notice that professional qualifications is one of the things, and that's why the program we have so far been pursuing at GISI is important, and I can also confirm that GISI will be introducing with the endorsement of the SEC, continuing professional development programs, continuing professional development programs, CPDs, that all the licensees of the commission will be required to undertake as a means of ensuring that they don't become stale and they remain fit and proper. So let me end by stating some 4 things that I think you should commit to personally, and that would always make you a fit and proper person or someone that the commission would be happy to license. So 4 things I want to recommend that you commit to. I shared this, I think, with the other class or the other team, and so let me repeat it. Commit to know your craft. That's number 1. Commit to know your clients. That's number 2. Commit to know your regulations. That's number 3. And number 4, commit to refresh your knowledge. And that's your personal responsibility to ensure that you stay fresh, you stay relevant, you stay on the cutting edge. So commit to know your craft, commit to know your clients, commit to know your regulations, and then commit to refresh your knowledge. So once again, well done for coming thus far. Finish hard as you decide on a particular career path in the securities industry. I've been in the securities industry since 1995, and I can tell you it's exciting, it's challenging, and it can also be rewarding. So well done for coming thus far. Finish hard, all the best, and give your best as you pursue a particular career path. Thank you for your attention. Alex, I believe I am done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rev. If you have time, you can stay with us, but if you have to leave too, would give you the permission. Now we come to the next, and for you to know exactly what is required of you, on the basis that, on the hope that when you qualify, you are going to be a practitioner in the securities industry. And therefore, it's important that you know what the regulator says and what the regulator requires from you. I would therefore hand over to my learned friend, Deborah. As I said, she introduced herself to you, but she is the Deputy Director General. In other words, she's a Deputy to Reverend, but for legal. And so she's going to share with you the laws and whatever I need before it can be licensed to practice in the securities industry. So Deborah, over to you, and all the best.
Thank you, Alex. And just to add my voice to what the Director General has already said, I want to congratulate you all for coming this far. And I know it's a very unique opportunity you have to take such a decision. And I also wish you all the best and looking forward to working with you as you join the industry. So I'll just share my slides. Don't know if you can see my screen now. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, you can see this. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and just go right into the presentation. So I'll do a brief intro. Of course, you know who we are as the SEC, but it will be just good to just let you know. You've done the legal part also, so you know that we work with the Securities Industry Act 2016, Act 929, of which Alex was one of the key people who worked on. So it's good to know that he's involved still in the capital market space. And our vision is to be a top-tier securities market regulator in Africa. And our mission as the SEC is to regulate, innovate, and promote the growth and development of an efficient, fair, and transparent securities market in which investors and the integrity of the market are protected. So that is in general what we do, what our vision is and what our mission is. And because Alex told me you're in the professional line of the courses, I just took a quick look at the options in that, the pathways that are available. And I realized that you have financial markets, infrastructure, securities trading, investment analysis, corporate finance, wealth portfolio management, risk management, and global investment performance standards. So I looked at all these pathways and how are we going to link them to the regulator. You can ask questions as I go along. You can raise your hand, Alex, if you see any hand raised. They can ask questions as I go along, or if they want, they can wait till the end. So
that's fine.
Okay, so all these pathways that you have chosen would have to fall under our Act. So when you look at Section 3 of Act 929, it lists the different categories of entities that the SEC regulates. So we have the securities exchanges, commodities and futures exchanges, securities depositories, clearing and settlement institutions, credit rating agencies, fund managers, investment advisors, unit trusts, mutual funds, hedge funds, private equity, venture capital funds, nominees, underwriters, issuing houses, registrars, custodians, trustees, primary dealers, broker dealers, and of course representatives of all these different actors or all these different market operators in the capital market space. Representatives of these entities will all also be licensed by the SEC. And just to reiterate this point, when you go to Section 109 of Act 929, they stress also that a person shall not carry out any business shall not carry on business as a securities exchange, hedge fund, private equity, venture capital, nominee. So a list of all those that were under section 3. And it says opposed to as carrying on the business unless that person holds a valid license issued under this act. And then the second part of section 109 also says a person shall not act as a representative for a person referred to in the first part unless the person is a holder of a relevant representative's license issued under this act. So this is reinforcing what has already been said in section 3. So it's very clear that you need a license to be able to, a representative license to be able to play a role in this market. And Alex said most of you would be in that category. Most of you would be seeking to be representatives of the entities, the market operators. So it will be good to focus on the representative part of what we do. So who is a representative? I think that's key now. So knowing that that's the category that most of you would fall in, who is a representative? So under Act 929, the definitions, we are a bit specific. We are specific in there that a broker-dealer's representative means a person in direct employment of or acting for or by arrangement with a broker-dealer who performs for that broker-dealer any of the functions of a broker-dealer other than work ordinarily performed by accountants, clerks, or cashiers, whether the remuneration is by way of a salary, wages, commission, or otherwise, and where the broker-dealer is a body corporate or director or officer of the body corporate who performs for the body corporate any of the functions mentioned. Investment advisor representatives, also defined in the Act, has a similar definition. So it exempts certain group of people. So we have accountants, clerks, and cashiers are exempt. They wouldn't be regarded as representatives. I'm sure there are other functions within the market operators that they would also be exempt because they are more like maybe we call them back office support, or they are the support functions, like the HR person will not be covered by these things. So it's broader than this, but these are the exceptional cases that were highlighted in our Act. So in addition to the Act, we have issued a licensing guideline. It was issued in 2020. And the licensing guideline was broader, added more to what is in the Act. So in a sense, instead of limiting to broker-dealer or investment advisor, the licensing guideline has been a bit broader, And it just says that a representative means an individual in direct employment of or acting for or by arrangement with a license who performs for the licensee any regulated activity for which the licensee is licensed, other than work ordinarily performed by accountants, clerks, or cashiers, and includes any director or officer of the licensee who performs for that licensee any of such regulated activities. I highlighted regulated activity because as time goes on and we do our inspections and we have reports on companies, we realize that some entities were not carrying out regulated activity. And what do I mean by that? So some licensed fund managers or licensed entities were carrying out activities that they had not received licenses for. So I can say that if you get a license for one activity as a market operator, it's not a blanket license for other activities. So for instance, if you get a license to be a fund manager, you'd have to still come for a license for a collective investment scheme. You cannot just go ahead and start operating a collective investment scheme that is not licensed by the SEC. So if you get a license to be a fund manager, you cannot go ahead and say, I can also do automatically I'm an investment advisor, I can do private equity. You cannot just give yourself all those activities just because you have one license. So that's why I highlighted regulated activity. So the rep also has to make sure that the activity for which they are working for the market operator is a regulated activity. So having gone through the two definitions, the one under the Act and the one under the guideline, I'll just go through the requirements for representative applications. So these requirements are also highlighted under the licensing guideline 2020. Just to give a background into this guideline, the licensing requirements for applications and renewal were mainly in the LI 1728, but the SEC, when the Act 2016 was passed, envisaged that there'll be room to make changes. And so that provision was given for flexibility, because when it's in an LI, there's hardly any room for flexibility. You'd have to go and amend the legislative instrument, which is a very laborious process and a long process. So after Act 929 was passed, now we have the flexibility of issuing guidelines and directives, circulars. All these things are able to assist with the way the SEC responds to the market. So now most of the licensing guidelines are in the requirements are in the guidelines, and sections of 1728 have been repealed now. So this is what has replaced what was in the LI. So the Form 3 of the schedule of the guideline gives the things that are required, and the Director General has already said that you have to be fit and proper, and he's explained what that means. But the guideline also goes ahead to give more information on what it means, and you have to carry out only business permitted by the license, and that's what I explained in the regulated activity. What have you been licensed for? You have to operate within that space. And the very painful and difficult revocation exercise also showed that some of the entities were carrying on activities that were not known to us. So you'd get into investors making claims only to find out that the product that they are making the claim on was not regulated by the SEC, but yet the fund manager was selling that product to investors. So that is very key. Then you need written confirmation from the principal. So representatives will be working for the entities that are listed in Section 3 and 109. So we need that confirmation, because the representative license is not transferable. You cannot take it and move to another entity. So it's specific to that entity. So you need that written confirmation from that entity. And then you also need 2 referees, one from the securities industry with senior management experience. So it's not just anybody in the securities industry, but one with senior management experience and one previous employer or a senior public servant. So these are some of the requirements that you will need. And then you come to the documents that we use to support the application, and you need certified true copies of your certificates. Then this is where I also highlighted, because we are in a GISI course, that's what we are doing now. So it says evidence that the applicant has passed an approved securities course organized by the Ghana Investment and Securities Institute or any other course organized by the Commission. So this is very key. So what you are doing really places you in gives you the right qualification, I would say, to be able to apply to be a representative. And also to add that in the guidelines, there's now a requirement that each market operator should have at least 4 representatives, including the CEO and the compliance officer. So this means that those I'm speaking to right now, they are potential CEOs, they are potential compliance officers. So it's very good to know that. And then you add a detailed CV, receipt of payment of the fee, and a register of interest form. So the forms are detailed, they are all attached to the licensing guideline. You see samples of them, and then the official application form also. Now we have it in soft copy on the SEC's website. So all these forms are available for you to look at, and the licensing guidelines are also published on our website. DG has talked about the fit and proper principles. I wouldn't go into that because he's talked about reputation, character, all that, carrying out the activity fairly, and so I wouldn't go into that. So after we've talked about I think the slide that's quite small, but when we included the fact that you have to pass the course and the transition that GC itself had gone through, the SEC issued a public notice to the general public and everybody stating clearly what GC was coming to do. So that public notice, which I've just picked in and put in the presentation, talks about the fact that we have now GC has taken over the courses that were done by the Ghana Stock Exchange, states who the main shareholders are, and talks about the training that GC would deliver, and the fact that it is now going to be a program that is implemented in collaboration with CC, and it gives it that international look, and the fact that now the courses are also aligned to what the CISI is also doing, and it gave the effective date. So it is heartwarming to know that you are the first group of people who are actually doing the professional under this new way that the course is being run. So after going through what the requirements are, the role of GC in what the SEC is trying to do in the capital market space in general, I just wanted to highlight some of the capital requirements that are also new. We issued it as part of the 2020 guidelines. So this, I thought the investment advisor would also be relevant for people, because some individuals may decide to apply as investment advisors and not come under the entities that have already been listed. So that information may be relevant, but of course for those coming under the companies and registered entities, I would say that the responsibility of the minimum capital would not be yours really, it will be that of the entity. So that is just to highlight those who want the option of being investment advisors. So Mr. Williams, I'm done. If there are any questions that people want to ask.
Deborah, thank you very, very much. What we'll do is that if you want to ask a question, just raise your hand. When you finish, you can just turn off your mic so that somebody is not disrupted. So now the floor is open for questions. Florence.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. Please, my question is, the last slide, you showed us various requirements for the various operators. And then before that, you had indicated that if somebody comes for a license for one particular thing, you'd have to come for a license for, let's say if you come for a license for a broker, you have to come for a license for, let's say, another writer. If you're coming for a separate license, do you have to still have that? So do you have to have a combined capital? Say if one is 400,000 for a primary dealer and underwriter is 1 million, do you have to have a combined capital, or you have a way of going around it? Thank you. Please, I'm not with my question.
David, do you want to
Thank
take
you,
it one
Florence.
after the other? Or
I can
we put
hear you.
them together?
So,
DJ would want
Alex.
to answer.
Okay, so I wanted to confirm whether you want us to do question and answer, or we take a number of questions and then we fill the answers.
Your style.
Okay, all right. So let's take it question and answer, since we don't have too many hands up now. Yeah, Florence,
Okay.
Thank you for your question. What we did was to make an accommodation depending on the category of the license. So, for instance, if you are a broker dealer, and then you want to be, let's say, a market maker, what we have done is to say that the original or the first license that you have, and then a percentage of the capital requirement for the second license category is what will be required. So to use some numbers, assuming a broker dealer MCR is $1 million, and that for maybe a market maker is $1 million. If you are a broker and then you want the market maker license as well, instead of 2 million, I think we made it 1.5. So it's a top up of your original license minimum capital required. So that's the kind of structure we have. That's provided it can be within the same category, but you can't, for instance, be a broker and then apply for a fund management license, because those are two totally different categories. So if, for instance, you are a fund, you hold a fund manager's license, you can also operate as an investment advisor, because the minimum capital required for the fund manager is higher than that required for investment advisor, but they are within the same stream. I hope you get it. So you can't, let's say, if you're a broker, say you are coming for a funds manager's license, you need to incorporate a separate entity, and that will mean that you will have to meet the minimum capital required. But if the category, you don't have to incorporate another entity like investment advisor, fund manager. If you are a fund manager, you can perform investment advisory functions. If you are a broker dealer and then you want to, within that same category, like become an underwriter, a market maker, there'll be an incremental requirement, so it will be base plus. I hope I have answered your question, Florence.
Yes, please, Ogbarmey. Thank you very much.
You see your hand was up. Yes, you can ask your question now.
Good afternoon. Please, I want to. Florence question was about the corporate level, but what about the representative level? If assuming you have one license, for example, you've already done wealth and portfolio management, and I think with wealth and portfolio management, you have a wealth of knowledge in the investment analysis, and you are giving a fund manager representative license, can you apply for the investment advisor license, or you are supposed to go through the investment analysis course before you are given the investment advisor license as an individual? Thank you.
Okay, I see I do. I'll answer you, let's say, in two different ways. Okay, so the first thing you need to note is that if you are a rep, that you are holding a rep license of a market operator, the requirements for the rep have been determined. I mean, you find it if you check we have a new form for reps of market operators. You find that the requirements are there, and so once you meet those requirements, then you can be licensed. The second way, or the second thing I want to say is that the different pathways that, for instance, you'll be choosing from the GISI professional level courses. We currently are in the process of, if you like, creating license categories for them. What I mean to say is that currently, if you look at the legal framework we have, the licenses that we can issue are simple, just a fund manager's license, and then a fund manager's rep license, a broker dealer's license, and a rep of a broker dealer, or an investment advisor. The investment advisor, you can have a corporate and then an individual. So assuming you are working with fund managers, a fund manager's firm, so you are a rep of a fund manager, and you have been licensed duly, given the fact that a fund manager can perform investment advisory, you don't need to be licensed again as a rep of an investment advisor, because you already are a rep of a fund manager. And as I said earlier, a fund manager can do investment advisory. But if you, on your own, as an individual, you want to be licensed as an investment advisor, then that is where you can apply, and then you can be considered. And again, you have to meet the requirements. The investment advisory category is the only one that, as an individual, you can apply. For the rest, you are it's applied by your employer, who will be a market operator. They would put in an application for you to be their rep. So that's how I can respond to your question. If you have a follow-up question, you can ask. Otherwise, I hope I've been quite clear on it.
DG, just
I'm
to
very
add
fine. Thank you very much.
I think the clarity is the fact that the principal is the one that gets the license from the SEC on what the company does, and you're employed to do that. So you have to work within that space. So that, I think that just to emphasize what DG said.
Any more?
Alex, I see a Daniel with hand up.
Okay, let him go.
Hello.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
can you hear me, please?
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so the first part of my question has been answered, but I wanted to find out whether SEC recognizes other qualifications such as the ACI or TFE.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. The current framework we have for our licensing regime, and I'm stressing the word current framework, we have communicated the GISI courses. However, going forward, we are looking at a regime where we can look at other professional qualifications. I mean, without doubt, CFA is the ultimate in the securities industry. So we know that if you hold a CFA, definitely you have some level of competence, or knowledge in this area. So, for instance, you may be required to take the legal and regulatory program offered by GISI, just to give you the Ghana flavor of the legal and regulatory, and then that would be what will make you eligible to be giving the award. So we have had a few representations for people who are holding some other qualifications for some exemptions. So there is a framework to consider what kind of exemptions and what kind of recognition to give. But at the minimum, you would be required to go through GISI and take the legal and regulatory framework program or course, because every country has its unique legal framework. So that's what I can say for now, Daniel.
All right, thank you.
Yes, I see this hand is up.
Yes, sir. I'm back again. I want to know this one. I'm jumping the gun, but I want to know if GISI is considering charter status, and if that happens, what will be the status of those who have obtained previous certificate?
Okay, I don't think you're jumping the gun, but I'm sure Alex can answer this. But the answer is yes. The answer is yes. There's a consideration for that. But Alex, I don't think I want to take the answer from your mouth.
Well, as you have said, we'll be looking at that aspect after our first program. But more importantly is the CPDs. We don't expect anybody at the certificate to start afresh. We'd rather want you to build it up with the CPDs. And that is what we'll be considering. But if you have not finished, or you couldn't finish the GSE courses, then of course you have to look at, like I said, the level that you reached and see where we can place you for you to continue. So that is the program we intend having.
Okay, then what happens to those who by then would have finished and having the certificate? What will happen to them? Where will you place them?
Those who are finished. As in which one? The
yes.
GSE course?
The GSE, yes, the GISI course, yeah.
GSE or GISI?
The GISI.
But once you finish, you can go and apply for your license if you meet the other qualifications. Or then I'm not getting your question right.
Yeah, I'm saying like if you obtain the charter status, and we, the current like students,
charter
those who
status
by
at this
then,
time.
that's what I asked.
Yes, we shall be considering that. But of course, the requirements might be different. We haven't yet considered the charter status yet, but if we do so, the requirements might be different. But of course, for all charter statuses, there's always the minimum of having qualified through the training program. That is basic. Then some addition is made for you to get a charter status. So that is what it would be. So with your GRSI qualification, you stand a good stead of going to charter when we decide to go to the charter status. Daniel.
Yeah, it's actually a CEDU.
Oh, a CEDU, sorry. Yes.
I'm okay. Thank you very much.
Very well, thank you. Augustine. Augustine, your hand is up. You can speak now.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to find out. I know a lot has been done to improve the operations on the capital market, but I just want to find out or ask if Reverend can highlight on some of the reasons why there has been an extension on the moratorium on fund management licenses.
Okay, thank you, Augustine. You know, we have recently just done some kind of cleanup in the asset management industry. Actually, the scale is the first of its kind in the history of the securities industry in Ghana. And the position of the board at the time was that we need to, in view of the fact that a lot of the challenges or issues emanated from the funds management sector, it's important to put a moratorium on the issuance of new licenses until such time that the cleanup activity has been, you know, if you like, tidied up, and we are confident we have a strong base on which to build. You know, the challenges in the asset management industry, you know, they were really quite severe, and I would say we haven't, even though we've made a lot of some progress, we haven't fully completed the cleanup exercise that we did. So the position of the board is that why don't you just keep your focus on tidying up the issues, and then being assured of a certain solid base on which to build on the industry. Because while you have issues, if you bring in or if you keep bringing in new people, you might just be creating some scope for some more challenges to emerge, because there could be supervision issues and all of that. So the idea is we are not done. We've made a lot of progress, and as you are aware, we have come up with, I think last year we issued about 4 guidelines. We have a few more that we'll be issuing this year. So we want to put in place all the structures before we open the if like the gates for new applications to come in. I can tell you that the rise in the number of licenses that were issued to fund managers kind of coincided with the challenges that we saw emerging in the asset management industry, and for which we've had to take, very strong, some people even say very harsh decisions in revoking licenses. So we need to have a certain solid base before we reopen the window for new applicants to come in. We're not going to keep it closed forever, but the wisdom of the board is that you've started a cleanup, tidy it up, make sure you put in all the structures that would strengthen the supervision of the sector, so that when new people are coming in, they won't end up returning us to those difficult times. So that's really why we have extended it. We believe that in the next, I think the last announcement put it at 6 months. We believe that in 6 months we should be able to say that we have the various structures we want to put in place where they ought to be, and we are confident about supervision of the fund manager. So it's just to make sure that you tidy up nicely before you open the gates.
Thank you.
Florence.
I'm sorry, I'll ask him again, but my question is for William. Please, I want to find out which group or category of people would you recommend to specialize in the risk and compliance?
You're asking which group would you recommend to specialize in what? Florence.
Sorry, risk and compliance, I was muted.
Risk and compliance. In terms of the profession?
Yes, please.
Rev, could you help us with that? Risk cuts across all the various practitioners. So I don't know which one exactly that you'd want to work with. I can speak to the subject that you'd want to take if you want to go into risk management and compliance as a compliance manager. But in terms of the practice, Rev could help us with that. But for those who want to do risk management and compliance management, you need to select investment analysis, risk management, and regulatory compliance as the subjects of choice. So Rev could help us in areas where these people can be placed.
Yeah, so I mean, as I listened to Florence, I was saying to myself that, well, the understanding I got was, which people would you recommend that they pursue that career path, that's risk and compliance? That's how I understood it, and I was saying to myself that, well, okay, it should be a question of what your interest is. But from my experience, people with a legal background, people with an accounting or auditing background, or people who are interested, in legal and then in auditing and accounting, they tend to do well in the area of compliance. I know there are some people who also have a background in terms of risk, based on what they may have trained they may have trained in. I think those who do actuarial science and all of that. So it really depends on, I think, what you are interested in. the expectations of the regulator for somebody in compliance, risk and compliance, will be for the person who will keep the market operator on the straight and narrow. The person who will be, if you like, the one to sound the alarm that these are some emerging risks that are on the horizon, either for the entity itself or even within the industry, so that the firm or the entity can position itself right. That's on the risk side. The compliance side is basically looking at the regulations and ensuring that all the boxes are well ticked, from corporate governance to investment guidelines to whatever. I mean, it's like I think Alex said, every area requires compliance in regulated business. So I think if you have interest in, if when you were in school, you were part of the people who are writing names when people were talking in class, maybe it could be a sign that you can do well in the area of risk and compliance. But I think basically people who want to ensure that organizations stay healthy, they stay on the right path, doing what they are mandated or set up to do, I think they would do well in that area. But like I said, I know people with legal, accounting, auditing, actuarial science background who seem to have done well or do well in the area of risk and compliance. I don't know whether, Florence, my answer is helpful.
Yes. Thank you. But I was looking at, my question was actually focusing on how it situates you in the industry.
How it situates you in the industry?
Yeah, so you see, for the other levels, you have brokers and traders, you have fund, wealth and portfolio managers. So at least those ones, you know that if you want to go into it, that's what you're supposed to study. So I was trying to find out if you want to study, what do you have to go into before you can study the risk management and compliance managers? Is it for people who are risk managers in companies, or what exactly do you have to be before you can study the risk management and compliance managers?
Oh, okay. I think I get it now. I think Alex would have for each of the career, the professional courses, like the different areas that you would have to study or you have to cover to fit into that area. So again, it really depends on you. But let me tell you that I came into this industry with a marketing background. I didn't come even with a pure finance background. I came with a marketing background. But then if you have the interest, if you have the ability to learn, and really after you've gone through tertiary education, you should be able to apply your mind to learn in any area. I mean, maybe except the sciences that if you don't have the flair for it. To me, your background is really not important in terms of educational background. But if in the work you're doing, it falls in the area of risk and compliance, certainly it would be good for you to take that pathway. So that would be my response. Meanwhile, we are actually elevating the compliance function where the SEC is concerned, because for us it's a very, very important function where the industry is concerned. So we are going to give it more prominence or more visibility when it comes to how we interact with the market. So going forward, you see that compliance officers would feature quite prominently in our engagements. So, Alex, I don't know whether you can respond to other issues on the different combinations. Yeah.
Well, from the chart I have here, I mentioned the subjects which she's likely to take, but you see that now with the industry, we have actually some requirements for people clearly described as compliance officers. It's become a position that is being taken very seriously, all because of AML, that's anti-money laundering, and then the other issues. And so to study that one, it means that you could also be applying for the position of a compliance officer in the industry. But once again, as I said, it also depends on your background. This course is minimally for graduates, and therefore it's assumed that you'd have done a certain study before picking up on these things. So if you come from a certain background, this is a professional program, like you said, which is just enhancing what you want to do. And therefore, like you say, if an auditing or legal background, sure, why not? Risk management could be an area that could also enhance your position. Company secretaries now also compliance officers. So it cuts across, and I think it depends on the kind of position that you'd want in the industry.
So Alex, just to add to what you and DG have said, in my presentation, I said that the minimum of 4 reps are needed for each market operator, and the 2 that aim there are the CEO and the compliance officer. So
Great.
In this case, that would be the requirement as well. So it adds to the fact that that role has been elevated.
Yeah. So Florence, the world is now your stage. You can fit in anywhere.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
But please, if you want to go in that direction, as you said, you have to study investment analysis, risk management, the regulatory compliance. Those are the 3 subjects that I have to choose if you want to go in that direction.
Yes, please.
Very well. Thank you. Any more? Oh, Sapon, your hand is up. Sapon. Sapon, you can unmute your mic and speak. Sapon. Sapon. Okay. Any other person who wants to speak ahead of Sapon? So then on that note, Sapon, I want to bring proceedings to an end. So if you could speak, then we can. Yeah, Sapon, okay, let's hear you. Well, on that note, let me thank all of you for joining us. I thank especially my DG and chairman and Deborah. Deborah, didn't tell us a bit about yourself. I mean, your students want to know just a little bit about this big woman who is regulating the securities industry. Just a little bit about yourself before we close.
Just to say that I'm a lawyer, and I have worked in different sectors of the financial sector before joining SEC. So I joined the SEC in 2019, and I'm filling the big shoes of Mr. Alex Williams. So that's what I want to share.
David, thanks very much. Please, we are going to have a few more series with the practitioners themselves. Now that I've heard on Regulator, we shall be listening to some practitioners next week. We'll confirm the dates for you, and please join us like you've joined us today, because your career path is very important. I don't want anybody to make a mistake, because to move into one and coming out might be difficult. So just make sure that you do the right thing. Rev, what was the second one? And do it right. So you choose the right career and have the right career. Let me put it that way. So please join us next week for some more series. And after that, you have the liberty to register in terms of your career path. That is why you're running these programs. So thank you very much for joining us, and you have a good evening.
Thank you, Alex, again for your leadership. Bye-bye.
Bye.